Hi, my name is Wes Nickerson, and I'm a Jill Stein delegate to the National Convention. I am on the state committee of the Green Rainbow Party of Massachusetts, and I'm actively involved in the Massachusetts Green Rainbow Party. I designed this t-shirt, if you want to take a look at it. It's bilingual. We have actually 4 Hispanic people on our state committee, and I'm proud to be representing the Green Rainbow Party here at the National Green Party Convention. The 1%, the people who have the money and the power and the corporations are controlling the national media and suppressing all third parties in the United States. Only the Democrats and the Republicans are given any serious attention in the national elections, especially just a political football. I mean, there was only one company that went bankrupt that they were focusing on. That was largely due to, undercutting of prices by China, which are often pricing their products at a loss in order to corner the market, the world market in solar products. Germany is a good case of a country that has gone gung-ho in terms of solar and wind, both in terms of using it themselves as well as having a thriving solar and wind industry in Germany. So it's really working for them. The question is, why isn't it working in the United States? I think it's because Germany is willing to take a stand in terms of promoting it, and the United States is not. The United States is largely run by the big corporations, especially the fossil fuel companies. So I see that as the reason why wind and solar are not promoted more in the United States and why they're not more successful. Building the Keystone XL pipeline really doesn't make a lot of sense because they're only temporary jobs mostly, and they're not that many really. Well, you create a whole lot more jobs by, retrofitting homes. There's like so many homes in the United States that can be worked on, and as well as, municipal energy facilities, right? So I think that we have the wrong people running this country.
My name is Stein. I'm a chair of the Green Party in Benin, West Africa. The main issue in my country, Benin, Republic of Benin, and West Africa in general, is a problem about deforestation. They are coming to make a name. They are coming to tell for the USA Green Party his responsibility about the development countries. When he will take the high position in the government, when he will take the position in the local municipality, in the state, he must work with development countries and find out the poverty. If you didn't do this, that is not a green. Where is the cooperation with? We need to talk about this now. This is the main reason I'm coming here.
Candidates running for the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House.
Partido Verde, y nosotros queremos que crezca, porque así podemos tener cambios que ayuden a la comunidad latina.
And I have to remove the children from the parents because their water was shut off in their home. So instead of the city helping a family figure out how to have running water in the house, children, not just in Philadelphia but throughout the entire country, are being fast-tracked into adoption only because they can't provide the basic necessities of life, because they don't have something as basic as a decent paying job in this country. I refuse to proceed from this notion of scarcity. We live in a country that is wealthy, there's enough to go around, and we intend to talk about this growing gap of inequality between the wealthy in this country and the devastating situation that most Americans are facing.
The 36 million students and recent graduates who are effectively indentured servants because they have high debt and they don't have jobs, or if they have jobs, they're minimum wage service industry jobs. You know, to talk to just working people as well whose wages are being cut. So there are just, you know, there's just a whole panoply of issues that badly need to be discussed and driven into the broader dialogue. And we're here as a reality check on this, you know, on this presidential mockery of a debate. In this election, when so much is at stake, I think would be just a terrible loss for the American people. There's no reason why Americans should have to walk into the voting booth in November and have only effectively 2 Wall Street sponsored choices.
What is significant about this is that this is the first time that you have a Green Party member who's coming up through the ranks, where this has been done entirely by Greens. Ralph Nader was and is a historic figure, so that is why it is such a significant accomplishment with Dr. Stein.
It's clearly a major concern in our agenda to support immigrant rights as human rights. We believe that the problems relating to a rise in undocumented immigration resulted largely from NAFTA. I mean, we know that historically. We know that after NAFTA, undocumented immigrants basically tripled, and that happened because NAFTA created a wave of economic refugees. So to the extent that a wave of refugees is stressful, it's stressful for the refugees who've had to leave their home communities, and it's stressful for receiving communities to provide for that influx. That needs to be fixed by renegotiating NAFTA and free trade agreements so that they respect working people south of the border as well as in this country. But that said, we believe that immigrant rights are human rights, and it's very important to provide a welcoming, respectful path to citizenship for the immigrants who are a critical part of our communities and our economy. We are a nation of immigrants. That is our diversity, that's our strength, and we need to maintain that welcoming tradition.
I really view it as a sleeping giant. All you have to do is actually get out there, get away from just online organizing, and knock on the doors and say, okay, these folks represent Wall Street, these folks represent you, your issues, what you're facing, and become a Green Party member. And this is our platform. And it takes about 5 minutes, and people will switch parties. So it's only a question of education and registration, and that's what we're already beginning to do across this entire country. And the other thing is that we have a great number of young people, and young people know how to use social media, and we intend to really use that in this campaign as well. As well as trying to have stuff in as many languages as possible.
John?
Question, I know this is speculative for most of us here, but what would be, should you gain the White House, what would be your priorities? I forget the first, let's say, 100 days.
Sure. You know, our priorities in governing are basically our priorities as we lay them out for the campaign. That is to create the Green New Deal, because we have a jobs emergency as well as a climate emergency. And it's a convergent solution, because in creating green jobs, you do a number of other things. You deal with the climate crisis, and you make wars for oil obsolete. Now, since we're spending $1 trillion a year on the bloated military-industrial security complex, that then enables us to cut way back on those expenditures. Say you cut it back by half, because it's basically doubled over the last decade. Let's take it back to where it was pre-Bush. That frees up, you know, $500 billion every year, which is plenty of money to get things going with. Medicare for all is actually a cost saver. It's not a cost driver. Contrary to the prevailing mythology, it actually saves us trillions of dollars over the next decade. That's another way that we ensure that we have the resources to pay for the things that cost. Public higher education, providing it tuition free. We know that that too is a cost saver in the long run. It requires some dollars up front for the investment, and that can come from the savings basically in downsizing the military. So yeah, I mean that's basically where we begin, and I think the biggest question is how will you do this, you know? And we're faced with that question all the time. And I have to say that this is actually an issue we have a lot of experience with at the state level, and it's sort of a common sense solution. The president needn't be simply the commander-in-chief. The president could also be the organizer-in-chief and actually inform and empower ordinary citizens to participate in the process. Our representatives are supposed to represent us, but it's hard for them to do that when we don't know what's going down, which bills are being voted on, and what their relevance is to us. So say Medicare for All is up for a vote next week. The president has so many ways to ensure that people understand what the stakes are, and what the, you know, here are the 3 talking points. Go call your senator and your congressmen and women and make sure that they know that you are watching what they do, that you need that vote. It's for lack of an informed and empowered citizenry that we have a Congress and a White House that's essentially run amok. They're run by lobbyists because we don't have a participatory citizen counterweight.
Green Party, do you believe in democracy?
Yes!
Are you sure?
Yes!
Are you willing to fight for democracy?
Yes!
See, that's what Green stand for, democracy.
Yes!
Well, I live in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and we are under a dictator. That is correct. We have our very own dictator.
To amend is to make it clear that the court was incorrect when they created the legal doctrine that money equals speech. Money is not political speech, it's property.
I ran as a representative of the Black Caucus of the Green Party, not as a celebrity. Jill Stein has never met with the Black Caucus and continues to be unaware that it even exists. To smear me as a rich celebrity instead of an activist who faced down power, you people better still love Harleen, all right? All right. And brought issues right into America's living room week after week in a groundbreaking television show about working class families and values is not repulsive to me. If I were a man, no one would dare to say any of that.
Our presidential candidates are the face of what we do there in Ohio, and if we do not get 1% of the vote, we will lose our ballot status. In February, when we held our convention, the only person who walked in the door after months of trying to get Roseanne into our convention, Jill Stein came to Ohio. And I just want to share that because we very much supported Roseanne. We very much supported a contested primary, because for us, that's democracy.
I do think that the emerging era of history into which we are living our lives, the era into which we're living, may well be the most important period of American history, bar none. Now, I say it as a historian, others would disagree, but I don't say it lightly. And when I say bar none, I mean including the American Revolution, and including the 60s, and including the Civil War. Whoa, that's a heavy rap, as we used to say in the 60s. What I mean is that in many ways, the system is running out of options. And we're beginning to see more and more people aware of the difficulties that cannot be managed the old way. Very briefly, all too briefly, in the 19th century, when you ran into problems, you threw land at it and took more and more land when there was a problem, until you've taken the whole continent, killing a lot of Indians and others on the way. But managing a system that was a tiny seaboard colony and then took over a continent as it tried to solve problems. and they ran out of land at the end of the 19th century. In this century, not by design. In the first quarter of the century, there was the beginning of a major recession, probably a depression in 1914, and World War II solved the problem in the first quarter of the century. I am not offering a conspiracy theory. That's just what happened. In the second quarter of the century, it collapsed again. And World War II bailed out the system. Not by design. That's how it worked in the second quarter of the century. And in the third quarter of the century, having defeated the Germans, having defeated the Japanese, and having lost the productive power of many other corporate competitors, plus the Cold War, plus the Korean War, plus the Vietnam War, plus high defense expenditures, that boom third quarter of the century was run that way. We are in a different era. Think about it this way. It is all but impossible to have a massive industrial scale war like the First and Second World Wars, land wars, 42% of the economy spending on war expenditures, and the reason is nuclear weapons now make that impossible. It isn't going to happen that way. We may blow ourselves up, but we're not going to have that massive injection of economic power into the economy to solve the problems. In fact, big small wars are also getting less and less powerful. People don't like them. They don't like sending their kids. They don't like spending the money on that. It isn't just us. And if you look at those expenditures, they are very big. But as a percentage of the economy, they are declining to 3% already and going down. A lot of waste there. But you are not solving economic problems that way.
Someone who's really kept me motivated to be in politics, and she's going in her junior year of college along with me. She's in my grade at my university. She's about to have a child, and she's $42,000 in student loan debt. Ooh. Thanks to federal and state cuts, she's lost about $1,000 worth of grants for next year's, while tuition has gone up $1,000, and thus has to take out even more student loans if she's going to continue college. Her ability to have health care for her and her child is uncertain, in large part because of my lovely Governor Walker's cutting of Badger Care. And if she finishes her college degree, as we all know, there won't be any decent paying union jobs waiting for her at this rate. So we students, we get the issues. You know, these are not philosophical debates for us. We are not, as are commonly called, youngsters with our head in the air. You know, if we don't do something now, our future is gone. This is the tipping point. Whether we accept the future of servitude to corporate profits with no freedom of our own to pursue our hopes and dreams, or we draw the line in the sand now, because we know enough is enough. Yeah. Student loan debt has surpassed $1 trillion. Government funding to education institutions is an all-time low. Tuition is skyrocketing. My TAs are eligible for food stamps. My university's tuition has quadrupled in the past 20 years, and we're considered one of the cheaper universities. You know, these were all things that many students were aware of when Governor Scott Walker declared his so-called budget repair bill last spring last year. I'm sure many of you are very aware of that. Yes, please boo that man. We should boo him enough that he can hear us in Wisconsin. Except he's probably not. He probably is somewhere around here fundraising with wealthy people instead of being. So, I'm proud to say that students, high school and college, were really the heart of the occupation of the Capitol. And I personally witnessed thousands of undergraduate students walk out of their classes to go to the Capitol. I saw TAs hold their classes in the Capitol. Most inspiring of all, I saw high school students, thousands of them from all over Wisconsin, walk out of their school, which not only that enabled the sick out that the Madison teachers had, where they, refused to teach and went to protest. So really, just another example of when students and labor come together, anything is possible. And the first night we occupied, when I was there, it was TAs, undergraduates, and high school students holding down the floor. We knew what was on the line. We knew that the workplace conditions for our educators were our learning conditions. We knew that the workers' current conditions are our future conditions. We knew exactly how insidious and predatory the student loan industry was, and we had to take a stand. The solidarity, the understanding that all struggles are intertwined, is what made the Capitol protests and the occupation successful, is what made them so inspiring. We know a little something about what real democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Working on a campaign for Quabain and Nicomo. You check our website, give us any help. We love it. We also wanted to point out that in 2004 we did have a full slate of candidates. We are working tirelessly to make that happen again.
But Jill Stein will be the next president of the United States of America.
We live in a land of abundance. A land that is controlled by the corporations, the 1%, and the greedy. Where both political parties are controlled by Wall Street. But we also know that we live in a land where people love their children, love their country. Where we will no longer sit by while Rhonda, Glenn, and Miss Fran, who sit in the front row here, lose their homes to the banks. We will no longer sit by as the United States of America continues to have politicians in the U.S. House of Representatives that's proposing cutting 300,000 children from free school lunch programs. We will no longer sit by and watch as family members are deported. We are the new and unsettling force that Dr. Martin Luther King spoke of.
To quote Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing they have it in the first place. Well, we know we've got it, and we're going to use it. And one of the ways we're going to use it is by having a voice in this election and a choice at the polls that's not bought and paid for by Wall Street. Because voting for either Wall Street candidate, for Mitt Romney or for Barack Obama, gives a mandate for 4 more years of corporate rule.
That's right.
Every vote they receive is an endorsement of the deadly trajectory that we are on for the American people and the planet. It's time to change that plunge into catastrophe. And that change starts with voting for real change. As Greens, we are committed not only to jobs, but also to improving social conditions for everyone in America. That's why the Green New Deal will create an immediate moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. The Green New Deal also guarantees health care for everyone as a human right through Medicare for all, and put you back in control of your own health care decisions instead of having them made for you by a profiteering insurance company CEO. We will end the bailouts and the corporate giveaways and ensure that the resources are available for investments in our communities, for consumers and small businesses and cooperatives. Through these reforms, we will break up the big banks that are too big to fail. We urgently need to amend our Constitution to make clear that corporate Corporations are not persons and money is not speech. We will guarantee a voter-marked paper ballot for all voting and require all votes are counted. We will bring simplified, same-day voter registration to the nation so no qualified voter is barred from the polls. And we will take money out of politics and replace it with full public financing and free and equal access to the public airwaves. But there is more to be done beyond the universe of the Green New Deal. And that's why I am committed to emergency action in other areas as well. So first, I will bring the troops and the war dollars home. We need to bring them home from these illegal and immoral wars, including the proliferating drone wars and the soldiers in over 1,000 bases in over 140 countries around the world where we don't need to be. Foreign policy based on militarism and the protection of oil resources will be replaced by diplomacy. Diplomacy based on respect for international law and human rights. I will restore our imperiled civil liberties by repealing the un-American provisions of the Patriot Act. It's not only the Patriot Act, as you know, it's also the National Defense Authorization Act. And the Anti-Trespass and Anti-Terrorism Acts, which criminalize protest and direct our police to spy on nonviolent dissenters. I will prohibit the Department of Homeland Security and FBI from conspiring with local police to suppress our freedoms of assembly and speech. I will also work to legalize marijuana. Marijuana is a substance which is dangerous because it's illegal. It's not illegal because it's dangerous. We'll end the bipartisan war on immigrants. I will stand up to the racist demagoguery that wrongly blames immigrants for the unemployment brought on by Wall Street's abuse of the economy. The Obama White House has been the most anti-immigrant administration in a century. That's right. Obama did a pre-election about-face last month and gave temporary work permits to a limited number of immigrant youth.
Too little, too late.
Too little, too late.
And even this fortunate group will still face deportation at age 30.
Yeah.
Taking office, I will immediately issue an executive order to end the deportations now. I will work to provide a welcoming path to full equal citizenship for undocumented Americans who are vital members of our economy and our community. Together we will take back the promise of our democracy and the peaceful, just, green future we deserve. Thank you.
A production of Anibal Ibarra.
AnibalShow.com.
AnibalShow.com.